In Europe right now, there is a large rollout and implementation of the MiCA markets in crypto asset regulation, which in the end will make it possible for one company to have a license in one company, but can attack or go into passporting their license to a market with 450 million people. And one of the early movers in this regard is OKX, and therefore we are very happy to welcome Erald Ghoos, the CEO of OKX Europe.
Hi, Morten. Thank you for having me on your show.
So could you please tell us first what is the position and what is the strength of OKX in the global level?
So OKX as a group, right? We already exist for around 12 or 13 years. For that time, since 12, 13 years, we have always quite been consistently in the top 5 of the largest crypto companies globally, right? That, of course, depends on how you measure size in a company like ours, right? Like a crypto, a blockchain, a Web3 company. There are different kind of elements on how you measure the size. So you can do that based on the number of users, the assets under management, the revenue, the number of employees, the geographical coverage. So in all of those metrics, we are always like somewhere, like within the top 4 or top 5, right? So that is like something that already sets us apart in terms of size, trust, reliability. We really distinguish ourselves from the competitors. Some competitor might be better in some aspect, another one might be worse. We're always like quite consistently very good in the top echelon of what our users are sensitive for. It is security, right? That is one of our cornerstones, non-negotiable. Compliance, right? Complying with what the local regulators are requiring us to do in order to, combat money laundering, terrorist financing, fraudsters, trying to keep our users safe from those harms. We are really strong with as OKX, as our group, is having a large global team for product and engineering. But then we have our local teams in each of the local countries in Europe and also elsewhere in the world who are close to the community, who talk to the community members, who are organizing community events, who know what the local payment methods are, who know what the local EID or KYC solutions are. We then take that local knowledge, we transport that to our global product and engineering team, and we implement something, like a state-of-the-art solution that really fits the local experience. So those are some of the key things where I think, that we really stand out as a group compared to our competitors.
Yes, and based on that position, you have also moved into Europe. And why is Europe interesting, and what role does the new regulation MiCA play in that?
So indeed, right now, because of MiCA, it stands for Markets in Crypto Assets. It is the first pan-country regulatory framework ever to put in place on crypto, right? Other countries, they already had some shape or form of a crypto regulation, as we saw in Japan or in Dubai or in other countries around the world. This is the first time that there is like a harmonization between countries, between union states happening. Quite unique. New asset class, and then this type of regulatory framework. We have been operational in some European countries already for a few years. For instance, in the Netherlands, we had our registration where we could operate our business. In Malta, we already had our license where we could operate our business. Now, can you imagine as a global company coming into Europe and having to apply for a license or a registration in each of the 30 member states? It's extremely difficult, right? It's extremely labor, cost, and knowledge draining. So then the European Union said, look, we have to be competitive. We have to unify all those different country crypto laws and regulation and unify and harmonize them under one European crypto regulation, which is then called MiCA. Similar type of European harmonization regulations already existed. I can point out like the EMI, the electronic money institution license. We have the MiFID, the markets in financial instruments, that has already been in place for several years. And now since earlier this year, we have the MiCA license. This is now an amazing instrument for us to have to passport our MiCA license from our home base in Malta across all the 30 member states in Europe. We can now actively solicit. Solicit means target our users in the different European countries by offering them the local currency, by offering them the local language, by integrating with local popular payment methods, by having a local team on the ground. So for us, it's really like an important instrument to have to bring localized, regulated products to our users. It instills trust, it instills reliability. We are also then complying with local laws and regulations unified within this harmonized framework. So for us, for the European Union, for the users, it's all a win-win-win. We can implement local popular vendors. For instance, we can now start talking and having discussions with, for instance, Swish or stuff like that, or local eID solutions or local government databases that help reduce the friction to onboard users throughout Europe, where they don't have to provide like with their proof of address or their identity documents anymore. We can then use and drill into local government databases to help a frictionless onboarding. So in that sense, right, I think we are, as one of the first global exchanges in Europe, getting that MiCA license, we're very well positioned to start conquering Europe.
And of course, in Europe, there are different markets and different sizes of the different markets. And as I understand, you have 5 key markets that you are prioritizing. Nordics are not one of the 5, but what is then the priority of the Nordics in your regard?
Correct. So we have entered Europe with the 5 key markets, right? And how we based ourselves was, a simple mathematics. We looked at the size of the economy, right? So those are Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Poland. So those are very, very, very large markets. Where we also noticed quite a bit of a difference between our 5 key priority markets and the medium and lower priority markets is the ease of entering into the markets. Even though that the Nordics, they stand out in GDP, right? As everybody knows, one of the highest GDP regions. Financial literacy, also extremely high in the Nordics. So for us, a very interesting market to be present in. The size of the economy and then also the difficulty in entering the market made us put the Nordics as a second priority entry market in Europe. What I mean with the difficulty for entry into the market is there are a couple of localized tools, like for instance, some of the local payment methods that require us to have that license. We have that license, we now have to demonstrate to the local providers that we have it, they have to recognize it. We also have to make sure that we hire a local team. We also have to make sure that we can implement those payment methods, those eID solutions. It's a little bit more of a threshold for us to overcome to start entering in that market. From a user interest, an education point of view, GDP, it's an extremely interesting market for us. It's just the entry level into that market is slightly more difficult than Germany, than France, than Italy, than Poland, for instance. But the good news is, like towards the half of this year, after the summer, we probably will be, looking to more actively ramp up our entry in some shape or form. I don't want to say too much about it yet into the Nordic. On one side, we're already progressing quite well, is on the local team. We already now, in the last few months, have started hiring and onboarding some really, really hotshot talent in the Nordics, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway. So in that sense, we're now ready to go. And we're ready, also starting to get ready with our infrastructure. So hopefully shortly after summer, once everybody is back from a well-deserved summer break, we might be able to announce something already in that sense.
Enjoying the conversation? Visit the Kuiper.io website and subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch and listen to more insightful discussions. But did you also know that we offer a combined podcast and newsletter concept called Future of Finance? Subscribe to Future of Finance for curated news and expert insights delivered straight to your inbox, and to be notified when new videos and podcast episodes are released. Sign up today and never miss an update. In addition to the regulation and the payment systems and things like that, how will you then compete in these markets about trust, about the brand? Because it seems to be that even at least in Norway, Sweden and Finland, there are already strong local contenders. They also have a good position market-wise, and they also have a good brand. So
Correct.
How are you guys going to compete with those?
That is indeed something that is probably a little bit more disadvantageous to us as OKX, because our brand in Europe, it has not been very popular, right? In that sense, some of the local competitors, and even more some of the regional competitors, they have a much more, longer track record in Europe. They're much more known, they're much more reputable already than us. We are trying to get our brand in Europe more out there, more prevalent, recognized. We have already started partnering with some European popular brands. So we are like one of the sponsors of Manchester City. It is a UK team, but because of the size and the performance of that team and the global reach of soccer, it's something that works everywhere, right? And it's a team that has been doing quite well. It has a lot of very popular players in its team from continental Europe. So in that sense, everybody feels a little bit, more, warmed when a player of a team, is playing from that team. We have Haaland, we have some other people from continental Europe who are playing in that team. So it's a very well chosen team for us to partner with. Then we also have in the Formula One, which is also a very, very popular sport for Europeans to watch on TV, where we're sponsoring the main sponsor of the Formula One team, McLaren, which is now doing fantastic, right? Like they're winning both the drivers almost every race now in Europe. Last year they won the constructorship competition in Formula One. This year they're also doing quite well. So we have quite selectively selected our sponsors, our teams, our sports teams, which we are trying to get more brand recognition out there in Europe. For now, these are also the teams that we quite want to stick with. We're quite loyal. We also feel quite good with the values of both Manchester City and McLaren. So these are probably multi-year partnerships that we would love to explore with those teams. What we see is some of the local or the regional teams, they're going more with local sport teams and sponsorships that they go for. That might be a tactic, that might be a strategy, but we want to explore or continue exploring our partnership with these ones. Other than that, what we will be doing to help improve our brand is work very hard on education. We also will be partnering with multiple universities in Europe to help with educational programs around crypto, around blockchain. So those are things that we're quite hard working on now in different countries with our local teams. So multiple areas where we are working on to improve the brand recognition of our product in Europe.
A team like Manchester City, they have a lot of fans in all the Nordics, and not only because of Holland. It's usual for the Nordic soccer fans. They have followed English soccer teams for 50 years or something, so they have a fan base. But guys, you have also launched a sort of a wallet integrate with Telegram, which has 1 billion users. And if you take these two trends together, are we moving towards a consumerization phase in an adoption in the crypto industry?
I see a lot of these things happening with partnerships with not only us, but some of the other competitors in the industry. I don't like to call them competitors, like we're like all like-minded industry players who are trying to change the world for the better. So I see in that sense a lot of great work being done, integrating with some checkout methods, partners with banks. We also see from banks having much more interest in offering crypto now to their user base. We're integrating indeed, like with messaging platforms, Telegram, all those likes. That really will help with mass adoption and more mass awareness and education. Right now, crypto, it is, becoming more and more popular. If you see the adoption rate of blockchain, of crypto, it is going faster than the initial stages of internet or mobile cellular phones. So in that sense, the adoption rate is quite high. But we also want to make sure, that we get up to this whole hyperbolic curve in terms of adoption. And for that, you have to work with established brands. You have to be able to spread the word. You have to work on communication, on education. Regulation, as we earlier pointed out, will help with it, but that's not where it ends, right? We also, as an industry, have to make sure that we continue partnering with reputable and reliable brands in all shapes and sorts of industry, whether these are banks, whether these are messaging tools, whether this is automotive. We have to work with all different segments in the industry, airlines. So in all those kind of different types of industry, you have to start working and making an effort to popularize crypto as a payment, as an investment method. So those are things that the industry is now also, I feel, speeding up with.
Another part of the adoption space is related to the traditional finance, which maybe moved with the ETFs last year. Then came the tokenization, start of tokenization. Then you have stablecoins. And now lately there has been a lot of buzz around Bitcoin treasury companies, which are accumulating Bitcoin to have on their balance sheets. In the Nordics, there are already 13 of those companies, and altogether I think there's about 150 or 200. How do you view this trend? Corporations, even listed on the stock exchanges, accumulating Bitcoin and going to a new type of investors.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a wise move from companies to do that. Bitcoin has been proven to be an amazing hedge against inflation. Other than companies, we also see nation states now putting crypto more on their reserves or on their treasury. I think this is now going to expedite, especially in Europe, because of the MiCA regulation. It will help also instill more trust and reputability into this asset class. It will make things much more legitimate. The thresholds will be lowered. So I think more and more medium-sized and large-sized institutions, banks, pension funds will be jumping on the bandwagon and putting a percentage of their treasury in Bitcoin. I think this is a normal trend. Also, as crypto industry players, we are heavy on those types of investments, of having Bitcoin in our treasury. More and more banks. We also now recently saw that it's difficult to assess whether that's a rumor or whether that really has become practical. The Czech National Bank having an interest in putting some of their reserves or their treasuries in Bitcoin. I think more and more of those players will start moving into Bitcoin, what has proven to be an amazing instrument against inflation. Also now driven by the new administration in the US under Trump, which is now proven to be like quite a bit more friendly and bringing more clarity into the whole crypto space in the US. They now recently ratified the new Genius Act and some other pro-crypto acts in the US that will only help with more adoption, will make the spaces much more competitive between Asia, Europe, and the US on, driving crypto adoption, and where the centers, and this is very important, where the centers of innovation is going to take place. So with this Genius Act and also with the European MiCA Act, it will now be a little bit of a competitive, front that will now be forming to see which act or which regulation is most friendly, which allows for most innovation, how are stablecoins treated within that space. So those are things that will now be playing out. And hopefully, that there's not going to be too much over-regulation, that things stay innovative. So very, very interested now to see how things are going to play out with further adoption and further putting Bitcoin on balance sheets in treasury portfolios between companies, institutionals, banks, pension funds, and also countries.
There's also another interesting trend, this tokenization of real-world assets, and we are not talking necessarily about gold or silver, but even bonds, even stocks, and there has been a lot of launches in that regard. And you guys, you have also a MiFID license. So with the MiCA and the MiFID license, will that make it possible to then offer both crypto exchanges and other types of products, maybe embedded in crypto or with crypto inside? Is that part of the plan?
Indeed, we have our MiCA license, and next to that, we also have our MiFID license, right? It is an interesting new development with the tokenized real-world assets offering. Our MiFID license, will allow us to jump into this space. For now, our main focus by having that license is offering derivative future products to institutional and retail users. That is for us where we still feel the most demand is in the industry, and where we also definitely want to cater to. So in that sense, we first want to go out with future products, derivative future products to our institutional users, where we feel there is like an urgent demand from it. Because in Europe, that space has been, cleaned up. All the bad actors or all the actors from in the past who were offering that in an unregulated way, they have been winding down their business. The regulators have, told them like, look, you cannot offer these products anymore. You have to remove it. We now clearly see in Europe more and more of the unregulated derivative products are being removed. Like those leverages with 100x, 125x. It's difficult to find them now anymore. Still, the need for consumers, for institutionals and retail is there. We won't be able to offer those crazy high leverage of 125x anymore, right? It will be like a much more reasonable 5x, 10x, 2x, dependent on the profile of the user that we will be able to offer. But this is something that we immediately want to jump into. We will be one of the first to offer those regulated future products in Europe through our license that we have, our MiFID license. Then we are going to upgrade that and offer that as well to the retail segment. There is much more controls and guidance that we have to provide for that segment. We're closely working on it. We will be launching a product on that in the near future. So after that, we will be evaluating where we want to go with the real world assets, right? It's new. We want to evaluate, is it a hype? Is it something that is going to stay? Is there a real demand for it, right? We don't want to jump immediately on this evolution yet, right? We're critical. We're very open to it. We really think there is like definitely a benefit in, but right now the main demand that we see is still in derivative futures.
Will these products be available also for institutions in the Nordics? I understand that in the first phase it will not be available for retail, but what about institutions in the Nordics?
For institutions, yes, right. So it will be a European rollout, so throughout the whole European economical area, where we can then passport our licensable activities. We will be doing that. So in all of the European countries, we will be offering our future products, as I mentioned, in the first phase to institutions, right, or professional investors, professional traders, and then afterwards more to the wider retail segment.
You also have made some deep, in-depth reports about decentralized exchanges and why this interest, because you guys are a centralized exchange, if you understand.
Mhm. Yes, our roots are in centralized as a centralized exchange, right? And we also feel strong that most of the users they will first start with a centralized exchange and then afterwards will evolve into a decentralized exchange. As our group CEO and our founder, he always says like DeFi is the future, right? I think indeed DeFi, decentralized finance, right? Being in charge of your own financials, being a trustless society, I think that is indeed the future, right? Right now, is it there yet? I think it still needs to work a little bit on the usability, the safety of it. And I mean with safety is the user errors, right? Like it's a big responsibility to be responsible of your own keys and of your own money, right? If you lose that, where are you gonna go? Whereas if you keep things on an exchange, there is always some way how to recover your keys should you lose that. So in that sense, I think, like DeFi might still be a little bit scary for some people. I also think as an industry, we probably want to work on a little bit more of a better user experience and a better user interface so that people feel more secure, that it's much more transparent. It is evolving in that way, right? The first years when I was in DeFi, it was extremely confusing. Right now, DeFi is already, the UI has improved, the whole experience has improved, and everything is so much facilitated already. So I definitely see a positive trend. Hence why I also believe in what our owner and group CEO Star is saying, that DeFi is the future. In that sense, we are also investing quite a bit in our DeFi and Web3 product in Europe. So in that sense, we really believe in a DeFi, trustless society, and more of a future strong adoption of DeFi and Web3. Our centralized exchange, our SEX exchange, is a foundation. It's an amazing instrument to, bring the beginner users in, which, let's be honest, it's still 93% of the global population still is not on crypto, right? They might have heard about it. So there is still a lot of work for us to do to educate and bring that message to the rest of the people who are not yet on it. They're not going to make their first steps in a DEX, in a Web3 environment. They'll first have to come in through a centralized exchange, and then after having a good experience on that, evolve into a more decentralized finance environment.
A little back to the Nordics, because a lot of the Nordic crypto exchanges, they have had a great progress because they had integration with local identity solutions, but also with payment solutions. And I think there are more than 1 billion Norwegians that are now using VIPs, for instance, and which is a payment solution, and Web2, but it's the same in Sweden. But you're also launching OKX Pay.
Correct. Yeah.
Will you join the other guys and offer some of the same solutions, or will you have your own way of onboarding people, both regarding KYC, regarding identity, regarding payments?
Yeah. So our OKX Pay, it is, what is important about it, it's instant. It's on stable coins, and where we would distinguish from some of the other popular and trusted local payment methods is that we're borderless. The environment will be available 24/7, regardless of any bank centralized control. It's borderless, it's free, it's instant, it's accessible. So it has a lot of value, a lot of improvements from our traditional banking rails. So where we comply with all the latest standards, we comply with the licensings that we need to have from it from a compliance point of view. But then again, it also uplifts and it uses the latest technology available. And again, it's borderless, it's 24/7, it's instant, it's free. So in that sense, we also believe that there will be much more adoption happening, both from retail users, but also over time from merchants, from other payment facilitators. Banks are now also exploring the blockchain technology because it's a much more robust, transparent, and cheaper method to move funds from point A to point B. So in that sense, quite optimistic and looking forward to our rollout of OKX Pay.
Yes, you mentioned stablecoins, and on another note, you also have improvements in the Bitcoin system regarding Lightning. Block is rolling out for merchants in the States and so on. Are we now seeing a rebuilding of the payment rails, at least globally?
I think, like the latest true innovation in banking was probably in the 1960s, when the whole concept of credit card came out. So I think it is time indeed to do a makeover of the traditional way of how we see finance, how we move money from point A to point B, how we do lending, how we do investment. Basically, every person in its life will have, at some moment in time, 3 financial needs. That's it. You want to send money and receive money. That is one use case. Another use case is you want to accrue wealth, making earnings, getting yield on investment. And the third and the last one is not for everybody. It is for the normal folks like you and me. We want to lend or borrow. Those are the only 3 financial needs that ever anybody will have, right? There is no other financial needs that you will have. I think, like now with the coming of blockchain is a perfect technological setup and an invention and a technology to build great products on each of those 3 financial needs, right? Like what we now see with OKX Pay, sending money, right? Like being paid or paying somebody has never been that easy. It's never been completely free. It's never been as fast and 24/7 available. I can pay somebody in Japan now at 0 cost instantly. This is fantastic technology. Now also blockchain offers great use cases on the other two financial needs. Accruing interest with Earn, right? Like we can invest our crypto in Earn projects where we can get like very, very nice, yields on this wonderful product. Now also with lending and borrowing, this is still a little bit of the trickier situation because due to regulatory reasons, you need to have a credit institution license or a banking license in order to do that lending and borrowing, right? So in that sense, there are still quite a little bit of some hurdles to overcome, but the industry is getting there. So on all those 3 financial needs, the technology with blockchain is a fantastic underlying tool on which we now are building use cases.
Do you think that the traditional bank and finances have the same view as you? Are they also betting on the DeFi?
Indeed. I think, like back in the day, banks didn't like the asset class. They didn't like the technology. It was new. I think it was something that worried them about their existence. Now, after, me being in the industry already for 7 years, I see much more of the banks and of the traditional incumbents welcoming and embracing it. Why? Because they now get understanding of what the blockchain technology, as a technology, I'm not saying crypto assets or, the different kind of thing. I'm talking about the technology, what it can bring, how efficient it is, how transparent it is, how much it can reduce their operational cost, how borderless the technology is. So right now we see much more interest from banks, like already like some of the largest, neobanks in Europe, right? Like the bank with the most users in Europe, Revolut, has embraced crypto. They're putting it, like as a separate app. They're working on it. So we see much more of those traditional incumbents embracing the technology, working with us, to offer crypto, the asset class, to their users, but also they're working on their own stable coins. They're working on their own payment methods to offer new use cases to their users. So I think in this sense, we're now going a little bit through a technological banking revolution, like 3.0, where more of the banks are adopting the blockchain technology and bringing products to their users based on blockchain. So in that sense, what I also will predict is more of the banks will go into the space where us as exchanges are operating, whereas also we as crypto exchanges, traditional crypto exchanges, will also move more into the traditional banking space when it comes to licensing, when it comes to offering payment methods, when it comes to offering yield products and lending and borrowing. So I think there will be much more of a synchronization in the different industries, the traditional banking industry and, the crypto industry happening. I believe that companies who are not going to follow that kind of merge of industry, they will become obsolete over time. So exchanges will have to come up with use cases from the traditional space. The traditional space will have to adopt technology and user experience in which the modern crypto exchanges are very, very strong. So I think, over time, things will merge into a new financial technology class.
Very, very exciting vision you have there, Erald, and it will be exciting also to see what kind of role then OKX will play in the European market and also in the Nordics. And thank you very much for sharing those thoughts with us, Erald, and good luck with your further expansion.
Morten, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode from Kuiper. If you enjoyed the conversation, subscribe to the Future of Finance podcast. Available both on-chain and on your favorite platforms. And remember, Future of Finance isn't just a podcast. Sign up for your newsletter to get news, deep dives, and insights, and to be the first to know when new podcast episodes drop. Stay connected with us and never miss an update.